Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Arena World Championship summer season, the first cup of the season here, and we are now advancing to our upper bracket. These are the teams that have been completely undefeated so far in the tournament, and they've been doing absolutely stellar. My name is Adrian, and I will be hosting for you, and we're joined by Venruki Supertees and Zico for the game. So this is the next series. We've got the boys going up against M2KC, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this, Venruki, because the boys, obviously, fantastic spring season for them. Second place, rivaling Super Frogs. I think they were the only team, or Cloud9 now, they were the only team that actually took a cup off of Cloud9. Cloud9 won 5, the boys won 1. But then obviously at the spring finals, they didn't have the most desirable performance. They came 5th in the tournament, whereas we'd expect them in the top 4 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for the boys, early on in the spring season, they ended up just running a lot of Windwalker Death Knight. Smexon, of course, playing sort of the flexor DPS role on their team, picked up the Death Knight, and they made it work. They got a lot of points because of it, ended up making it to the spring finals. Smexon then sort of reverted back to the Fury Warrior, and they heavily relied on that Windwalker, on that Fury Warrior, but they didn't have the best results. The matchups weren't going sort of as expected and as practiced, and because of that, Smexon decided, you know what, he wanted to practice the Elemental Shaman. I think that would bring a lot of flexibility to their team. You have Thugonomics on the Destruction Warlock. If Smexon could play a really powerful Elemental Shaman, those pair well together, as well as the Elemental Shaman with the Windwalker Monk. So I'd be curious to see if that's what the boys are going to be locking in game number 1. No, they will be sort of defaulting back to the Demon Hunter Death Knight, and this is sort of a disaster for M2KC.
M2KC went 0-9 and could have qualified if they beat this comp one series and couldn't beat them. They had 3 series to beat this comp. They didn't beat them in a single one. So it's not surprising to me that the boys would play this composition.
I mean, definitely no surprise whatsoever. The boys going to be locking in their best composition, but M2KC with a little bit of a read here. You have Jamili on that Elemental Shaman we were talking about, RubCub on the Restoration Druid. We'll see if they finally come up with some sort of an answer for this composition.
Yeah, the answer that we've seen from North America was Cloud9's Mage Warlock Druid, which M2KC tried to pull out, but this might just be very effective as well. Thugonomics low on health. Incredibly low on health, only trading out Blur, I believe, throughout this initial assault. It's not the Vendetta, he doesn't want to overcommit. Manages to avoid death by just dancing around his opponents with those fell rushes. Blade Dance trying to avoid some more damage as well. Lightning Lasso peculiarly was cast there on Gorecki. Usually you'd want to be using that to maybe prevent an interrupt, so I'm not really a big fan of that. Big Smoke Bomb play on Thugonomics, but he Gladiator's Medallions out of the Smoke Bomb. Gorecki as well, now stabilizing. Thugonomics is taking a lot more damage than I would have anticipated, but so far he's surviving.
Yeah, Jamili, of course, known for his mage gameplay, but also playing the Elemental Shaman, the Balanced Druid, lots of different mage, lots of different caster classes at his disposal, and it's nice to see him multi-classing a little bit here, bringing the Elemental Shaman. I think it's a really strong class right now, really powerful role, and I think it pairs nicely with their team. Had good pressure so far in the match on Thugonomics, and because Thugonomics has been under so much pressure in this matchup, it's been really difficult for him to land those mana rifts, and as a result, RubCub, he's actually way ahead on mana.
I'm wondering if Gorecki played the Shaman instead of the Druid, almost anticipating this Elemental Shaman rogue because he's so well known for Druid. Thugonomics is taking quite a bit of damage in this position. The next kidney shot actually could be lethal if they get crowd control on Gorecki at the same moment in time. Gorecki crosses midfield, so he's exposed to crowd control potentially. RubCub sees that, pushes forward, goes for Cyclone, gets denied, kills the grounding totem, goes for Cyclone again, gets it. Thugonomics could be in trouble as a result of RubCub's crowd control. He's getting bursted down, tons of damage, very low on health. Spirit Link Totem will save the day. There's a surprising amount of pressure from M2KC. So far, so good for them. RubCub looks to sit down for a drink or generate mana. Smexon snipes him and denies it. M2KC make a swap to Gorecki, looking to catch him off guard. Double stun combo. RubCub dodging the mana rift. Gorecki still low on health, barely holding on here at the pillar with that astral shift. Commits the Earthen Wall Totem as well and is still struggling.
Yeah, definitely struggling. Finally in Ghost Wolf trying to get away. RubCub throws in one more Maledict Trinket. Gorecki in Ghost Wolf going to be running away, popping the Ascendance to try to get some healing on himself. Rosie still just all over him. And right now, M2KC, they've had a surprising amount of pressure so far in this matchup. Gorecki's really struggled, finally topping all 3 members off. If we look at mana, finally those mana rifts are starting to develop themselves. RubCub at around 50%. Gorecki does have a lead, and it's going to be up to RubCub in this matchup. Is he ever going to be able to sneak away for a drink? Have M2KC figured out an answer for this Demon Hunter Death Knight? If not, this is going to be a clean sweep for the boys.
Yeah, it'll be 0-12 to this composition in a row for M2KC if that ends up being the case. Gurecki comfortably sitting through a full blind and a Hex. If he gets away with sitting through both of these, that would be quite impressive, but at the same time, the longer it goes, Thugonomics dips low. Another stun as well. Roasty's reconnecting. Not enough damage. Actually going after RubCub a bit, trying to target him down. He doesn't actually have too much mana and appears to be struggling to this swap. Managing to finally recover now. Thugonomics stunned away. Gurecki crowd controlled by Jamili. Big damage incoming. Earthen Wall Totem is placed by Gurecki. This should stabilize Thugonomics, although at low health. Desperately in need of some healing waves. Connecting some now and stabilizing. Roasty's a bit on the back foot. RubCub getting gripped to Smexen. Thugonomics wants to swap. They get the Fell Eruption. They deny the Mana Rift with Lightning Lasso. That was well done from Jamili. They buy RubCub some extra mana as a result of that instant reaction time from Jamili.
Yeah, good reactions from Jamili. It's going to be really important in this matchup. Either Jamili or Roasties is shutting down Thugonomics. Thugonomics in a little bit of trouble, trying to dance around. There's a Chaos Nova onto Roasties, still trying to get out of line of sight. Roasties with the Shadow Step. Thugonomics not out of it yet. Gurecki doesn't have the Spirit Link Totem. Vanish, Garrote gets cast out. Thugonomics still in a lot of trouble. Anti-Magic Zone just trying to soak up some damage, but these Demon Hunters are just so durable. Gurecki does manage to keep Thugonomics alive. Good teamwork there by the boys, and they do manage to hold on, but at what cost? RubCubby's in stealth for a little while. Is he going to be able to recover all of his mana? If he is, it's going to be big trouble for the boys.
They are trying to crowd control Gurecki as he crosses midfield. If Gurecki gets Cyclone or Hex, it could be curtains for Thugonomics. Tipping lower and lower. RubCub gets denied on the Cyclone, but now Smexen, maybe they don't even need it. This is a lot of damage. Gurecki really struggling, and the boys going down. M2KC, they break the slump against a composition they were 0-9 against in the spring season.
Wow, just wow. And I bet they're thinking, I really wish that I'd had this in the spring season. Of course, these guys literally tied Never Lucky for points. They just need to win one series against DK Demon Hunter, and now they're finally able to do it. And I think one of the kind of heroes of that game was RubCub. He looked really good on that Druid, Zico.
Yeah, RubCub looked really solid on the Druid, and it's been kind of the same thing as for Absterge, right? Where he has been pretty much the pillar of the Holy Paladins, and Absterge has been kind of the pillar of Resto Shamans, but they've kind of just been sticking to those healers. Here though, RubCub, he deals really nicely with what the boys are throwing at him. He even goes for a drink right here as soon as his team has pressure, which is completely the right move to make. And we gotta talk about Jamili on the Ele Shaman as well, because this is something that we've needed to see from him. I feel like the M2KC squad, they've always been playing that rogue mage paladin at a very, very high level, but the Ele rogue has been very successful as well. Ele Shaman is one of the few casters with enough burst to really surprise some of these Demon Hunter teams.
Yeah, Thugonomics, at the last few moments of this game, goes into a Lightning Lasso. It's a big crit here by Jamili. That Kidney Shot Lightning Lasso combination just does so much damage, and those setups consistently on the Thugonomics were just great to see.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things to note as well, is when you Kidney Shot and then you do the Lightning Lasso on Diminishing Return, it actually effectively works as if it's a full Lightning Lasso, right? So it like extends the crowd control even longer and the stun lock even longer, which M2KC were using that to advantage, which of course they should, and that's one of the reasons they were able to take him down there. But I do also want to, one of the things we were discussing before the broadcast was Rosita Jones, you know? We've barely seen him play since they added him to the roster. Of course, previously on the roster they had Gurecki, which adds a whole extra layer to this particular series, but with them multi-classing more and more, they're going to be able to most likely integrate Rosita Jones more in this roster.
Yeah, we kind of talked about how Rosita Jones is, you know, he's a main mage. He plays a lot of Fire Mage in particular, and now that we see Jamili can play an Elemental Shaman, you have RubCub on the Holy Paladin, it actually gives them a great option with the Elemental Shaman, Fire Mage, Paladin that we saw yesterday, integrated by
Chalky Milkman.
Yeah, the Chalky Milkman, exactly. They played it, didn't work out so great for them, but that composition is really powerful, and I think them having that under their belt as well is just a really good option for them.
Yeah, the Titan Slayers here, M2KC, they knocked down Cloud9, they knocked down Easy Money. Now they're looking to continue their repertoire with a defeat of the boys here, but they still got a way to go. The boys, obviously, they've been also working since the spring finals. As you were saying earlier, they've got Smexen, who could also go over to that Elemental Shaman should he choose.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, what is Mew Mew Kitty Cats going to do in game number 2? What's their blind pick? It looks like it's going to be the Assassination, Elemental Shaman, Restoration Druid. Do the boys have a better answer? I mean, that really is the question, like we kind of talked about. Smexen, he has been practicing the Elemental Shaman, as far as I know. You have Chun-Li on the Windwalker Monk. I'm trying to think what they could really run. I mean, if they wanted to, they could go into sort of a mirror matchup where the Windwalker, Elemental Shaman, Restoration Druid, and I actually feel like that would be a pretty good composition into that. You have the Windwalker Monk instead of the Assassination Rogue, and I can't help but feel like it would be a pretty good matchup. I mean, the Windwalker Monk would be very disruptive on that Assassination Rogue.
Do we agree?
I feel like they should just play what they played, but with Gorecki not playing the rest Shaman, just have him on the Druid.
Fair.
Or this is a pretty good composition as well, of course. This is their bread and butter, essentially, that got them to where they are today. Windwalker, DK, Resto Druid. They also have the option, of course, of playing Windwalker Warlock, which is something we've seen them play as well. So the boys have a couple of options here. Ultimately, though, I do like this option here. And I like when you play Windwalker DK instead of Demon Hunter DK, because it just gives you more win conditions. You can just burst somebody down, you have good control, you have good outlast potential as well. Whereas with the Demon Hunter DK, if RubCub ever gets away and gets that one drink, you're just so far behind.
I think it's one of the cool things here is that they're keeping the DK. It's almost like a tilt factor for Jamili. I mean, Jamili tweeted out yesterday saying, like, every single series I've lost is to DK teams. That I think it was WizK or someone who was actually countering. He was like, well, you also lost to us. We don't even use DKs. But overall, you can tell Jamili is one of these players who does go on tilt real fast. He can get really frustrated by certain things. And DKs seem to be the thing that's kind of grinding his gears right now. So if Smexen can beat him in this game, you could definitely see this series going off canter. Maybe we would see Rosita Jones. Obviously, in the graphic, we had Seth Curry on there. Seth Curry was the previous member of the team. Rosita Jones is the current one, so it's just an error on the graphic. But here, we're going into the second map of these two teams. M2KC, oddly enough, has the lead against the boys, pretty much against the run of most expectations we would see.
Yeah, definitely would be the case. I think I wasn't sold on Gorecki's Restoration Shaman either. I think that maybe I was almost wondering why. What condition would the Shaman have been better? The only thing is maybe a mana war against a Druid where the Druid never drinks and the Shaman never drinks and he can win like that. But the boys were just being played. I think the names here are backwards for us at the top, but the boys, being Gorecki, Chun-Li, and Smexen, were maybe anticipating a lot less pressure than was actually thrown their way from this composition. The Elemental Shaman Rogue Druid is not something that we see a lot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. One thing is for sure, every time we see M2KC, it's always roasties on the Assassination Rogue. They've really liked that specialization. I think for the better part of a couple of years, it seems to be what they primarily run. That's been the main focus of their team, is compositions with that Assassination Rogue, and it's a really aggressive playstyle in a lot of the compositions they run. They like to play aggressive. They like to keep their opponents on the back foot, and that's been sort of Jamili special since we've really seen him compete. He's always being the player to really push the pace early on. RubCub under fire. Good initial assault here from Chun-Li and Smexen. What is RubCub going to do? Does manage to escape for now. Chun-Li taking a little bit of damage. Full blind of Gorecki. He trinkets out. But it is going to be Jamili that's under fire.
Yeah, Jamili is taking quite a bit of damage early on from the boys as they mix it up with a two-pronged assault towards RubCub and Jamili. Finally connecting some regrowths, perhaps stabilizing, looking to counter-aggress. Chun-Li is forced to trade, but it's not really a force. He just wants to stay on target and finish this game very quickly against the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, keeping up their momentum. Chun-Li switching maybe to Roasties. No, charging back onto Jamili as RubCub is stunned up, not able to heal. Chun-Li cycloned at low health on the Diffuse Magic, denying some heals, then switching the Cyclone to Smexen. Lightning Lasso dealing a ton of damage on Chun-Li. So it does appear to be Chun-Li is the priority focus for M2KC, Jamili the primary focus for the boys. That means those two members of the team are going to have to be very careful to keep themselves alive based on positioning. Gorecki is just already sitting down for a drink. I believe he was actually significantly behind RubCub. The boys looking for a swap to RubCub actually. I like the ping-ponging, but they are burning a lot of defensive cooldowns to play this aggressively, creating potentially an opportunity for Roasties to make a play with Vendetta soon.
Yeah, big heals on Chun-Li off the back of that huge drink Gorecki was able to get. Chun-Li can stabilize. It's a great position for the boys. RubCub hasn't had to use too much mana so far in this matchup. Still, it's Chun-Li and Smexen that are all over him. Jamili trying to find some counter pressure onto Chun-Li right now, and that kidney shot into Lightning Lasso is a devastating combo. This is what we're going to see right now. We need to see Smexen get the interrupt on the Lightning Lasso, or it could be big trouble for Chun-Li. Lightning Lasso gets out of that with the everyman for himself racial. Fortifying Brew is going to be traded out as well, and big pressure for the boys. All three members are rotting down. RubCub is really struggling. He's trying to just tank through the damage in bear form. He does manage to escape, But in the meantime, Rocies and Jamili have been getting cleaved from the Windwalker and the Death Knight.
Yeah, pressure on 3 targets for the boys, whereas there's only pressure on Chun-Li. Rocies is just likely to fall here in the Asphyxiate, barely surviving. Shadow stepping and stunning Chun-Li to hold on by a thread. The boys' damage across the board is just so much more significant. Although you can't count M2KC out, their burst potential is definitely there. At any moment, they could eradicate Chun-Li. There's a moment of opportunity, though. Chun-Li has Touch of Death, and there's really limited defense for M2KC. So if Chun-Li can stay on target with that ability, he's more than likely going to be able to close this match. So let's see what Chun-Li looks to do. Who's he going to go after? They're going to grip Rubcub in for a double stun. That makes the most sense to me at this point. If they can get Roasties and Rubcub stunned and swap to Roasties, instead going for a stun of a million Roasties and setting up, but no Touch of Death. Maybe they're waiting for Iron Bark. Chun-Li's playing it out as patiently as possible. Gorecki gets swapped to. Big attempt here from Roasties to get a kill, but Ring of Peace pins Roasties away slightly from Gorecki. He is able to survive the stun, be into bear form and survive. Rubcub is crowd controlled. Still no Touch of Death attempt from Chun-Li. Waiting for the perfect opportunity, I suppose. Gripping Rubcub in, getting Bark Skin with the Storm Earth, Wind and Fire, but that's not really the cooldown they wanted to get. They would have preferred an Iron Bark. I can't help but feel that Chun-Li is waiting for a perfect moment that is just not happening, and the longer he waits, the more likely Astral Shift becomes available. They stun up Roasties. They're not really going after him. Smexon is just soloing Rubcub around the corner. Chun-Li is getting 1v1 by Jamili. This fight is splitting up. It's quite chaotic.
Definitely very chaotic. Chun-Li taking some damage right now. Gorecki still under fire. Roasties all over him. If he can get a kidney shot outside of bear form, Chun-Li trying to babysit Gorecki the best he can right now. Keep him alive, force Roasties off. Roasties need to be very careful that he's not getting caught up into those double leg sweeps. Chun-Li's very good at baiting people in, getting the double stuns. Does manage to find it. Good death grip coming in from Smexon onto Rubcub. Now making a big swap. Iron Bark looking to deny a lot of the damage on Chun-Li. He's forced to use the Diffuse Magic as well, but that wasn't on a Gladiator's Maledict, so doesn't have that as an option if Roasties, Jamili, and Rubcub decide to pull the trigger on those trinkets.
Jamili's still low. 2 defensives available. Which one's going to be used? Both at the same time. Big mistake from M2KC. Although they've got a tiny bit of a mana lead, perhaps that could be the factor. Gorecki knows it. He needs to get a drink, but he's not able to. He gets blinded. Unfortunately, breaks. That's very bad for Roasties. That could have been a big moment for his team to get a lot of pressure, at least get the Gladiator's Medallion from Gorecki, and now it's basically just thrown away, so any advantage that they had is effectively lost. Nice Thunderstorm on the Fist of Fury, denying some damage from Chun-Li on the part of Jamili. Gorecki again sneaking away. I believe Rubcub is doing the same. Both Druids need to try and regenerate mana. Perhaps they just go for an equal exchange. Rubcub says no way, moves forward, stops Gorecki from drinking. I do think that it's more favorable for Rubcub to drink. The consistent pressure from the boys should be higher and more difficult to heal through when on low mana, as opposed to Gorecki being low mana. So I feel there's more pressure for Rubcub to regenerate mana as soon as possible than Gorecki, but Rubcub keeps chasing Gorecki around maybe and trying to stop him rather than looking for a drink himself. Double leg sweep. Chun-Li uses Touch of Karma aggressively to swap to Roasties. He is responding appropriately. Feint, no overreaction from the side of M2KC, and now Chun-Li on the run.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of trouble. He's got no Touch of Karma. Anti-Magic Zone gets dropped out, but he just rolls out of it as quickly as possible. It was overlap with the Smoke Bomb, so not the biggest of deals. Chun-Li with really not too many defensives left after this Fortifying Brew. Still has a Diffuse. Roasties taking a little bit of damage. Jamili as well. Rubcub's mana is not great. The boys do have a mana lead at this point and a pressure lead. Rubcub caught into an Asphyxiate stun. Iron Bark, Bark Skin, overlap. Gladiator Safeguard. Panic mode here for M2KC. What is Rubcub going to do? Touch of Death is rolling. Rubcub has to start getting some heals on himself. Does manage to semi-stabilize, but he's still not out of it yet.
Big push from Chun-Li there, finally committing the Touch of Death. I really want to know why he waited so long to do it. I feel like he could have gotten at least 2 more Touch of Deaths in the amount of time that he's waited for just that one attempt, and could have actually just used it to run Rubcub out of mana faster. So perhaps a mismanagement there, waiting for the perfect moment and just never finding it. Gorecki is crowd controlled by Jamili, but Jamili's under pressure. He's not able to really utilize the effectiveness of it too much for his favor. Fortunately, Rubcub has Innervate that makes his healing free, so he can get through this next couple of seconds A-okay. But as it subsides, the pressure is going to mount. Gorecki's trying to sit down for a drink. Rubcub and Chun-Li can easily stop it. They grip Rubcub in. Smexon swaps. Chun-Li isn't. He's more worried about just trying to stay alive. Gorecki should be able to maintain him with Iron Bark, though. Now Chun-Li looking to switch to Jamili. It's very difficult to call call as to who is ultimately going to take game number 2. They're so evenly matched, and mana is totally equal. Defensive cooldowns equaling out as well. Roasties can make a big power play with Vendetta. Perhaps that could be the factor to kill Chun-Li. Chun-Li in midfield. Jamili looking to try and cast out some Chain Lightnings, develop some Maelstrom. Defensive Hex on Smexen. Gurecki moves forward, dispels it instantly. Rubcub's trying to drink while 2 members of the team are low. He managed to at least get a couple of ticks.
Very
slight
nice.
mana lead, but is crowd controlled and can't use the mana that he just got, so that could be devastating. Gurecki blinded up, decides to use Gladiator's Medallion, gets bashed on the Gladiator's Medallion. I don't think Rubcub should even go for the clone. He's just going to get interrupted. It's going to cost too much mana. They get the Touch of Karma from Chun-Li, so Chun-Li has very limited defense to stay alive. Gets beautifully cycloned on the anti-magic zone at low health. Well done from Rubcub. Rubcub then chasing down Gurecki maybe to stop a drink. Roasty's looking for a re-stealth opener and then chase down Chun-Li. Not able to get the re-stealth. Chun-Li is terrified right now. If Gurecki does not get Iron Bark before being crowd controlled, he is likely to die. So Gurecki's not going to risk that. Commits the Iron Bark before any crowd control is even tossed his way. Rubcub sees maybe a chance to sit down for a drink, but Smexen is all over him with those ghoulish undead creatures chasing him, poking him, making sure that he never drops combat. But that tiny drink is keeping Rubcub in the game. Chun-Li makes a push, but he has limited defense. Touch of Death doesn't even scratch Jamili here. Astral Shift is more than enough. Perhaps M2KC can get a kill finally. Gurecki totally tapped on mana.
Yeah, Chun-Li's portal is in the open as well. He might have to use it. Is he going to relay his portal? It's not in an ideal location right now, so can't completely rely on that. Diffuse magic is up. Rosty's there. Chun-Li denies any sort of kidney shot with the Fist of Fury. Rolls away. Good and evasive maneuvers by Chun-Li on the Windwalker Monk. Gurecki has no mana left to work with whatsoever. Smexen trying to develop some pressure by sitting on top of Rosty's. I like the denial. Lightning Lasso on Chun-Li. What is Rosty's going to do? He's able to reconnect just a little bit, but Rosty's is in some trouble. Rubcub, he needs to find some heals. He pre-feints the leg sweep, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. And ultimately, the boys will claim game number 2. Really well done.
Wow, I actually feel like that was completely against the run of play. It looked like M2KC was running away with that one. The insta-purge, the innovate, it looked like they were just going to win that one, but then really nice, lively swap over onto Roasties, and the boys just flat out win.
This is the problem when you go into Chun-Li. This guy is so good at surviving, man. Every single time they chase after him, he always just pre-parries with the fist, always rolling away, always teleporting. And then he realizes here at the end as well, such good game sense that, hey, Rubcub is just chasing after Gurecki. Right here, you can see some of those evasive maneuvers I'm talking about. Chun-Li, he's going to go ahead and use Tiger's Lust, line of sighting Jamili, then he interrupts the clone from Rubcub, then he uses his fist there to parry Rosty's attacks, rolls behind the pillar, buys Gurecki time to cross the map, and actually force Rubcub and Jamili here to chase after him. Now here, I think only Jamili chases after him, or only Rubcub chases after Gurecki, because what ends up happening is that Chun-Li, he gets his human racial back, uses it right there, big leg sweep here, and a big turn while Rubcub is, trying to stop that drink. And that's the problem. At some point in the game, you gotta stop chasing the healer and just stop the drink with pure damage. And that was the moment in the game. M2KC just let it slip by, and great capitalization by the boys.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you highlighted that, because Chun-Li is an absolute legend. You know, this guy, he comes in, the team's down 1 game, he pulls it back for his team with some excellent gameplay. The boys looking to take the lead in this series. You join us mid-series here. The boys versus M2KC. 1 apiece is the scoreline right now, but of course M2KC, having lost that last game, will have the map and composition advantage going into Game 3, the swing match here. And they've brought a new composition for us here, Zico, one that we haven't really seen. What have you thought of the performances, not only of Rubcub on the Druid, but also Jamili on the Elemental Shaman?
I think they've been performing well so far. I feel like they had the last game even, and that was on their blind pick. So I feel like M2KC is in a great spot right now. And I was going to say, this is what I want to see from the boys in the blind, because if they play the Windwalker, all of a sudden M2KC plays Rubcub on the Holy Paladin, the Fire Mage, their main composition. And that composition is pretty much designed to kill Chun-Li. So I like that they swap him out, they get Thugonomics back in, and they do the adaptation that we wanted to see after Game 1, which was out with the Resto Shaman and in with the Resto Druid.
So do we think that the boys now have an advantage in this matchup, or do you think it's just kind of making the best of the situation?
I think it's making the best of the situation. I mean, for Mew Mew Kitty Cats, this is a composition they've obviously tailored towards the Demon Hunter Death Knight, which was their biggest struggle. I mean, On the final day where they were about to qualify for the spring finals, they played against 3 different teams. All 3 teams ran Demon Hunter Death Knight and beat them 9 times in a row. They didn't win a single game. So you have to bet that they went back to the drawing board and tried to figure something out. This composition is obviously what they came up with, so I can't help but feel like they are going to have the edge in this matchup. Yeah,
the DHDK has really been kind of the demon for M2KC so far, but they've come back with a vengeance, and it seems to be the elemental assassination rogue that they are going after to try and actually defeat this composition.
I'm more interested to see how the Death Knight Demon Hunter performs with Gorecki on Druid as opposed to Shaman that he was playing in game number 1. It should provide more sturdy heals throughout the early game, and I don't think that they will fall behind nearly as frequently, so Thugonomics will be able to go for more mana rifts, and if he can go for more mana rifts at a faster pace, then he will run Rubcub out of mana. I love these stun timings on the side of M2KC. So when Rubcub gets stunned by Thugonomics, he wants to combine that with an ability called Mana Rift, which, if the healer stands still, will remove a percentage of their mana away. But Thugonomics will be on global cooldown after stunning, which means he can't immediately use Mana Rift. So there's a split second where they can break up that Mana Rift stun chain, and they've been using Lightning Lasso and Kidney Shot to do it. So Roasty stopped 1 Mana Rift. Here he can't stop this one because he is stunned as well. So finally, 1 Mana Rift connecting. Roasty's though looking to counter engage with the Smoke Bomb. We see the anti-magic zone exchanged on that. Thugonomics doesn't even seem to care, just recklessly charging out of it, going back immediately onto Rubcub. I will say that the boys are playing this a lot more aggressively, and they can get away with it with the Druid as opposed to the Shaman, and perhaps Rubcub will be put more to the test now because of Gorecki's change-up on that healer.
Yeah, we'll have to see how exactly that plays. Rubcub still under fire. Thugonomics trying to land those consistent mana rifts like we kind of talked about, but he's been getting denied every step of the way. Roasty's and Jamili doing a great job with the counter stuns. Thugonomics under fire right now. Asphyxiate stun going to be cast out by Smex and onto Jamili to try to slow down some of that damage. If we look at mana, there is a slight lead right now for the boys, but M2KC, they've been doing a great job slowing down the mana rifts, and as a result, extending Rubcub's mana.
All right, Rubcub doing a good job so far here against the boys. Relentless train down strategy. Rubcub crossing to midfield, looking like he wants to crowd control Gorecki. Stuns him. Not looking for a Cyclone, a Hex instead by Jamili. Gorecki unable to heal for some time now, but did get Iron Bark anticipating that attack and crowd control, so the Iron Bark basically made Thugonomics take no damage while Gorecki sat through the crowd control of M2KC. That was a good read on the side of the boys. Now Rubcub on the back foot, looking to kite and avoid both the Death Knight and Demon Hunter. At the same time, stop Gorecki from drinking, so high value positioning there from Rubcub. But you can already see a significant lead in mana. This strategy is proving to be a lot more effective from the boys. The Restoration Druid could be the difference here, and M2KC may have to come up with a different composition to take down this variant. Rubcub is under huge pressure right now with limited defense, coming out, surviving with that Frenzied Regeneration. But now, with no trinket as he is running Relentless, every stun will sit. Shadow Meld Zaglaire's Maledict. Well done from Rubcub. Pressure will subside as a result. Looks like Gorecki was trying to get away, but Roasty's actually switching to Gorecki. So maybe a healer race. If it's a healer race, I feel like the Assassination Rogue can actually win that race, having the Mortal Strike effect as opposed to the Demon Hunter and Death Knight, who do not have that. The Mortal Strike effect being a debuff that reduces healing on a target by 25%. So any target Roasty's attacks takes 25% less healing, whereas Smex and Thugonomics don't have access to that debuff, so they're not going to have that extra healing reduction added to their team. So if it ends up being a healer race, I think it would be in favor of M2KC.
Look at M2KC. Rubcub, he's been in stealth forever. He's going to be able to get so much of his mana back. Drinks about 50% of his mana now, and M2KC actually has the lead. Smexon was unable to find him with really good positioning. Rubcub was able to get out of combat, get a drink, get in stealth, and that keeps them in the game. There has been good pressure on Gorecki, like you were saying, Sid, and I think that's going to be really important for Roasties and Jamili. Eventually, they can take him down. If they get a big setup with the Elemental Shaman Burst available, they could easily snipe a kill on him. But the problem is, if you leave Smex and Thugonomics on Rubcub too long, they will burn through his mana, but I don't know if it's going to matter. Gorecki forced to use his Bark Skin. He's got no trinket. If he can't recover and he gets caught in another stun, could be lights out.
Could be lights out, and then M2KC will put the boys on match point and perhaps throw a curveball for their blind pick. They don't have to play this composition blind. They could try maybe the Paladin Mage Elemental if they really wanted to give it a go against the boys just to see what happens. And then in their game 5, where they have the map selection and comp pick, they can set up a more favorable matchup. Gorecki gets stunned out of Bear Farm. This is atypical of Gorecki and a big mistake. Thugonomics is crowd controlled and can't help him. This could just be game over.
Oh!
One mistake game over. M2KC moved to match point.
I think one of the big adaptations in that game was Thugonomics was playing Relentless, which means they can't use the kind of lasso trick off of the kidneys. He was able to survive, and they're like, well, Gurecki has a trinket, and they just go straight after him instead.
Yeah, and it's not often we see the rest of Druid fall in this composition. You have so much support from your teammates, but M2KC, they had so much pressure throughout the game, and R2UB as well, like we kind of talked about in the pregame. If he gets away for that big drink, it just resets the momentum completely. It allows the entire team to just be super, super aggressive. And like you mentioned, that Relentless pick on Thugonomics, it might make him, less of a target, but these swaps to Gurecki, they've been really, really deadly here. They force out the bark skin and they get him. Honestly, this is a little bit of a misplay on Gorecki's end as well. When you don't have the skin, you don't have the trinket, you kind of have to be a bit more careful. He got caught out in a situation where he shouldn't have been, and that was it. You know, the Elemental Shaman Burst is no joke. When you get that Lightning Lasso combined with an Earth Shock at the end of it, it can really do a lot of damage here. Of course, Gurecki, no pre-Iron Bark, no Bark Skin available, and he's caught out of form into the Shaman Primal Earth Elemental Stun, Primal Fire Elemental Stun, sorry, into the Lasso and Earth Shock Delete combination.
Yep.
Nicely executed.
Thunderstruck.
Really thunderstruck there from Jamili. And I mean,
Nice.
This is the thing. M2KC, looking at this composition, the Elemental, this has been one of the themes that we've been talking about more and more. We want to see more of these teams picking up Elemental Shamans because they do look really powerful. In Europe, we saw it a lot during spring. Now we're seeing some of the North American rosters locking it in summer. Do you think this is a counter to the DHDK, the way they're playing it, or do you think they're just playing it really well?
It seems like the boys have windows of opportunity to win. I mean, at one point of the game, R2UB did manage to sneak away, drink 50% of his mana back, and if that moment didn't happen, the game could have been completely different, because like we kind of talked about, it's fine and dandy that Jamili and R2UB are going after Gurecki consistently in the matchup, but the problem is, if you do that for too long, R2UB will go out of mana, being trained down by the Demon Hunter, by the Death Knight. If they're landing mana rifts on cooldown during those stuns, he doesn't have too much time to really work with, so I think it is up to M2KC in this matchup to make something happen, but the boys, I think, for sure have an opportunity.
Do we think we see Chun-Li come back here for the boys, Sid?
It depends what M2KC decide to blind lock. I actually think they should just try the Elemental Shaman Mage, just to see if the boys are prepared or not for that composition.
Assuming they have it.
Well, yeah, assuming they have it, but I mean, Jamili plays Elemental perfectly fine, and Rosita is phenomenal Fire Mage. I feel like it would be not that difficult for them to just pick it up, although it's probably unlikely that they've prepared it. They're considering their options here on hook points. I'm really just wondering if they want to bring Paladin or not, or just stick to Druid. It will be difficult for them to drink on this map, borderline impossible. So perhaps going for the Paladin, play an all-in strategy, try and win right away. If you don't, oh well, game 5, set up a better map, set up a better comp advantage. They're just going to stick with the same thing, try and get their practice on it. As they progress through the tournament, they're going to have to face this composition a lot, so they're just making sure that they're playing this composition to the maximum capability. The boys, on the other hand, do not go for the Windwalker Death Knight, which is a bit of a surprise.
What do we think about this?
Well, I honestly don't think the matchup is that bad. I feel like the big mistakes are just allowing R2UB to drink. I mean, we've seen it before when people play Demon Hunter DK. If you're not on top of those drink stops, then you're going to lose, because that's your win condition, right? And so far in every game, R2UB has snuck away and gotten drinks. So on a small map like Hook Point, most likely not going to be able to get those drinks, and I don't think that they should really die that easily. Like I said, Gurecki, very, very uncharacteristic mistake on his end in that last game. I feel like if he pre-bared that stun, he would be fine. And also, Gurecki is usually a person who plays very heads up. He doesn't put himself in a situation where he can even get caught out of form with no bark skin or iron bark available. And usually when he doesn't have his trinket and his bark skin, he's a player who just kind of sits back, plays very, very defensively, and just plays for the long game. I feel like the boys have just been a little bit too aggressive. So I don't mind this matchup at all. I feel like the boys should just play this the rest of the series.
Well, we're heading into game 4 here. M2KC looking against, their spring season of performances to actually make it through to North America's top 3 in the first cup of the season. And Gurecki, he's gone for a really defensive build here.
There might be an opportunity for Jamili to get back at Sea-Doo. for his comments about Championship Sunday. They're performing a lot better here in the summer season for sure. They've prepared this composition, the Rogue Elemental Shaman Restoration Druid, and so far has at least broken their slump, taking some games now off the boys and putting them on match point in the upper bracket. They've broken through the Gladiator's Medallion of Gurecki. That's a major objective to get out of a healer in an Arena 3v3 match, and could open opportunities to switch targets to Gurecki later on. He's got to be prepared for that. In the meantime, the boys are just gunning down RubCub and have pressure on Roasty, so it's difficult for him to be in bear form, but does manage to get into bear form for the stun, although he's able to escape the Mana Rift purple circle effect on the ground, avoiding its mana draining effects. Roasty is still low. Jamili is surprisingly low. The pressure from the boys is much higher here in game number 4.
Yeah, definitely solid pressure here for the boys. If you look at mana, Gurecki sitting 100% mana at this point of the game. RubCub's been struggling a little bit more. The stuns from Roasty and Jamili haven't been there quite as frequently on Thugonomics. And Thugonomics has actually opted to go back to the Gladiator's Medallion trinket choice, so he's going to be able to break out of stuns on command, which makes me think Jamili and Roasties, they need to be focusing him again, making sure they're getting those long kidney shots into the lightning lasso to sort of slow him down. Because on this map, I feel like the boys realize it's going to be really difficult for RubCub to escape all of this damage they're doing to his blue bar, to his mana bar right now with these mana rifts is going to be permanent. There's not much likelihood that at any point he can really sit down for a drink, so I feel like that was part of the boys' strategy in picking this composition.
Prison Mana Rift combo with Ursul's Vortex to make sure it lands. Boys are a lot more focused here. They're on match point. They can't afford any mistakes. They've cleaned up a lot throughout the series, and perhaps if they play perfectly, this is a matchup that they should actually win. Big burst attempt here by M2KC onto Thugonomics. Gurecki deflects it. Then Gurecki moves in to try and crowd control, but gets intercepted, although denied by Thugonomics. Good backup there on his part. Another Mana Rift secured. A significant lead already established. Nice map selection on hook point. It's going to be basically impossible for RubCub to drink, barring some massive mistakes on the side of the boys. Another attempt at Thugonomics' life. No Iron Bark available for this one. Gurecki gets interrupted. RubCub looks for a Cyclone. The pressure is still on. Lightning Lasso dealing a ton of damage, but Thugonomics appears to be A-OK, catching a quick heal with a Swift Mend, and most importantly, the Burning Soul Azurite trait on the Demon Hunter. Every time he casts the spell Consume Magic, it removes a magic effect from the target, and also gives him a gigantic Absorb Shield. So anytime he comes out of a stun, he's going to be using Consume Magic, then Swift Mend will heal him up, and that combination is almost guaranteed survival. So to kill the Demon Hunter, you need to make sure they die when they're stunned, and you need to make sure that the Restoration Druid is unable to cast Swift Mend. If you can create that situation, then you most certainly can kill the Demon Hunter, but if you can't create that situation, then it's going to be very difficult to kill him until dampening.
Yeah, one adaptation I've seen in this game in particular is Smexen. Instead of going after Jamili in the matchup, which is kind of difficult, he's just sitting on Roasties. So Smexen sitting on Roasty with the Chain of Ice, with the Asphyxiate stun, is trying to free up Thugonomics, because RubCub is basically in a situation where he has to be running away. It's very easy for Thugonomics to chase him down. Roasties, however, he wants to be on top of Thugonomics as much as possible in this matchup, and Smexen is just making his life a living heck right now, spamming out the Chains of Ice with the Death Grips, with the Asphyxiate Stun, making sure he has a very difficult time landing these consistent kidney shots.
All right, double stun. This is the situation that we like to see from M2KC, but really not enough damage to force the boys' hand. They're just playing a lot more solid in terms of basically everything all around, defense and offense. Could be an opportunity for Roasties to make a power play and switch to Gurecki. That is actually the disadvantage that the boys get on this map. Sure, they can burn down the mana and stop drinks, but Gurecki is a lot easier to target down. Although they're not going for it. They're currently attacking Thugonomics, maybe just outright killing them. This is a surprising amount of damage onto Thugonomics with that Consume Magic, Absorb Shield from the Burning Soul Azurite trait, soaks up the remainder. Thugonomics now in Metamorphosis, and while he is a gigantic demon Illidan cosplayer, he heals himself with Leech. Every attack he does heals him, so similarly to a vampire, unless he is stunned, he's going to be healing himself up quite easily and totally recovering.
Thugonomics playing the vampire class. Kitty shot now on Smexen. Good damage coming in. This is what I want to see. I want the pressure on this Death Knight. They have really good burst damage. Cheap shot into cheap shot. Smexen just completely disregarding that setup. Still has the Icebound Fortitude, the anti-magic cell, the trinket, but he opts to not trade out anything, not giving it even an inch to M2KC. making him an opportunity, or a takedown target, potential target in this match. Smexon still under fire, and I think this is intelligent. They haven't been able to get too much done on Thugonomics with Smexon just sitting on Roasty, so they've decided to just switch up their targeting, going after Smexon. In the meantime, RubCub is just getting chased down by Thugonomics. He now has free reign all over this Restoration Druid, and RubCub is completely out of mana.
Yeah, RubCub is just going to run laps on the outskirts of the map, but trying to run laps against a Demon Hunter, you're never going to win that marathon. Thugonomics will be on target. Smexon isn't really going to be pressured until deeper stages of dampening, and I don't think that RubCub has the mana to make it. Icebound Fortitude for the smoke bomb is still a fair trade. Smexon gets to get on target. RubCub in a lot of trouble. He's going to struggle. 2 members of the team low on health, 0 mana to heal them back up, and if he leaves bear form, he takes a lot more damage, so he's going to go in and out of this bear form perfectly to heal his teammate and himself. I mean, both teammates now, 3 members of the team in trouble. This is looking like it's going to be going to a Game 5.
Definitely is appearing that way. M2KC is running out of time. They have to make something happen on Smexon, but Gurecki completely deflects that with the Iron Bark. RubCub, what are you going to do? Jamili 30% health, Roasty's 30% health. RubCub now finally getting a little bit of hit points back for himself, but Thugonomics just all over him, not giving him an inch. Now Smex and Thugonomics are going to be going after RubCub. Innervate, the last thing he has available to keep his team alive, and he gets imprisoned on it. Bit of a disaster moment here for RubCub, but going for the Tranquility, looking to get as much healing out as possible. He might be able to semi-recover at 10% dampening. It's unlikely right now, but he holds on a little bit with that Innervate.
Why did Thugonomics use... that's a mistake. He used Darkness, his biggest defensive cooldown, for no apparent reason, and now Smexon actually may die. Big mistakes, I would say, in general on the Darknesses from Thugonomics in this series. 20 seconds to Vendetta. If RubCub can keep this up, they're going to advance in the upper bracket, but he doesn't have anything to work with. He's stun locked in midfield. He's trying to escape. Jamili gets interrupted on his support. Thugonomics is tearing in. RubCub barely holding on. Gladiator's Maledict gets shadow melded by RubCub, holding on by a thread. Smexon in trouble. Perhaps an opportunity to kill him momentarily. Iron Bark is about to fade. Roasties can go on all cylinders to kill this Death Knight shortly. Perhaps they can pull off the miracle. If they get any crowd control into Gurecki, a Bash, a Cyclone, a Hex, anything, maybe they don't even need it. There's no defense if they can kill him in the stun lock. They have to kill him 100-0. Where's the Lightning Lasso? They get the Lightning Lasso. They break it up, but he's going to go down.
I can't believe it!
Mistakes by Thugonomics' Darkness this entire series, actually, and M2KC are looking like they should be able to advance. Gurecki taps out.
Yeah, normally RubCub's on the Holy Paladin to get those kind of miracles, but really holding it down on that Restoration Druid in this matchup. Really well done. I can't believe they won that game.
They may not have miracles, but he unearthed something special there for M2KC. They've done it. They've beaten the #1 team from the spring season in North America, Cloud9. They've beaten the #2 team now, 3-1. The boys defeated with a completely different composition. Is there any stopping this team, Zico?
They've definitely earned their spot in Championship Sunday, that's for sure. Taking out the 2 top dogs so far, and again, what a game to end it with. Here at the end, I was just kind of looking at Roasty's Vendetta cooldown and Smexon's Anti-Magic Zone. I figured the only thing that's really going to save Smexon here is him anticipating the kidney shot and dropping down the Anti-Magic Zone, since, of course, there was no Darkness available. And RubCub here gets the Iron Bark back up. You can see he has a little bit of mana left there in his tank. He gets off a couple of heals there, goes back into bear form, just praying, trying to survive, trying to buy some time for Roasties. And Smexon here, he's hungry for the kill as well, of course. RubCub almost kind of baiting him here to go out in the open, and there it is, kidney shot. Jamili gets imprisoned, so I actually thought, okay, well, Smexon probably gonna survive here, but the shadow meld into the Garrote, stopping that Anti-Magic Zone from being dropped off. Jamili comes out, gets the Lightning Lasso as well to finish that one up, and they do it.
Yeah, they actually killed all 3 people in this matchup. They killed Thug in Game 1, they kill Gurecki in Game 2, and then they kill Smexon in Game 3. So showing versatility on the side of M2KC. Lightning for them definitely struck more than twice, but it struck in different places each time. So easy win for them. Honestly, like that series, I mean, yes, some of the games look close, but it was overall pretty resounding victory with this Elemental Rogue. They ran it the whole way.
Yeah, the Elemental Rogue... Again, I'm not entirely sold on this composition. I feel like if you play the Demon Hunter DK like really, really well, it is still very difficult for the Elemental Rogue to actually win because of being on the clock, but you have a lot more burst, and if you can find those kill opportunities on the Resto Druid, on the Demon Hunter specifically, then you can take the game before it gets to that point. So M2KC was just a better team today.
Yeah, M2KC, Mew Mew Kitty Cats will advance through to the Sunday broadcast. They will be a top 3 team guaranteed in this competition, and now they await to see who will be their first opponent in tomorrow's show. Method Orange against Neverlucky will be our next series, and then we'll drop down into the lower bracket to see the boys versus Cloud9.